17-year-old Emily Parker thought she had finally found someone who understood her. Across the screen, Mark Reynolds, a 41-year-old man with a calm, friendly online presence, made her feel seen in ways no one else ever had. What started as harmless messages and shared interests quickly pulled Emily deeper into a world she didn't understand. A world where trust could be deadly, and the person she believed was a friend might have been planning her disappearance from the very first click. Within days of their online connection, Emily vanished without a trace, leaving a town and a family desperate for answers. She was 17 and spent much of her time feeling unseen. Her days followed the same quiet routine of school, home, and long evenings alone in her room. She did well enough in class but never stood out, and friendships came and went without leaving much impact. At home, her parents believed she was safe, believing that staying indoors meant staying out of trouble. What they did not understand was how large her world had become through a small screen. Online, she felt different. Social media allowed her to express thoughts she never shared out loud. She posted photos, short messages, and pieces of her life that felt invisible in the real world. Each like or reaction felt meaningful. It was during one of these quiet nights that a new friend request appeared. The man was 41, far older than anyone she normally interacted with, but his profile seemed harmless. There were no flashy images, no signs of danger. Instead, there were calm photos of landscapes, books, and everyday moments that made him appear thoughtful and mature. Curiosity led her to accept the request. Almost immediately, his presence became noticeable. He reacted to her posts quickly and showed interest in the things she shared. His attention felt steady and reassuring, unlike the brief interest she was used to from people her own age. To her, it felt respectful and safe, something that stood apart from the noise of the internet. As the days passed, she grew used to seeing his name appear on her screen. Each notification brought a sense of comfort and importance. She began to associate her phone with relief from loneliness. What she could not see was the careful observation happening on the other side. While she believed she was simply being noticed, someone was quietly learning her habits, emotions, and vulnerabilities, laying the foundation for a connection that was never as innocent as it seemed. Within a short time, subtle changes began to appear in her daily life. She no longer rushed home to finish homework or chat with friends. Instead, she went straight to her room, closed the door, and stayed glued to her phone for hours. Late-night screen light replaced sleep, and mornings became slow and distracted. Teachers noticed her focus slipping, but no one thought it was serious. From the outside, it looked like a normal phase of growing up. Her online activity increased steadily. She posted more often, shared personal thoughts, and reacted quickly to comments. The man online responded almost instantly every time. His consistency made her feel important. She began to depend on that attention, checking her phone even during meals and family gatherings. When notifications stopped for even a short while, anxiety set in. Silence now felt uncomfortable. Gradually, she pulled away from the people around her. Messages from friends went unanswered. Weekend plans were canceled without explanation. She stopped attending activities she once enjoyed, choosing instead to remain alone with her phone. Her parents noticed the distance, but assumed it was normal teenage behavior. They believed she needed space and trusted she would speak up if something was wrong. Behind the screen, the man was quietly shaping her routine. He learned when she was online, when she was alone, and when no one was paying attention. He watched patterns form in her posts and noticed changes in her mood. Each detail helped him understand how to stay important in her life without being questioned. What she believed was a growing bond was actually a slow narrowing of her world. Her focus shifted away from reality and toward a single digital connection. Without realizing it, she was becoming isolated, emotionally dependent, and easier to influence. The pattern was set, and once it took hold, it moved forward without resistance, pulling her deeper into a situation she did not fully understand. The day she disappeared began like any other. She woke up late, moved through the house quietly, and avoided eye contact with her parents. Nothing about her behavior seemed alarming enough to raise concern. After lunch, she told her family she needed some air and wanted to clear her head. It was not unusual, and no one questioned it. She left the house wearing comfortable clothes and carried only her phone and wallet, leaving behind everything else that tied her to home. Cameras from nearby shops later showed her walking down the street at a steady pace. There was no sign of fear or hesitation. She checked her phone several times, as if following instructions or waiting for a signal. At the bus stop, she stood alone, scrolling through her screen until a bus arrived. She boarded without looking back. That was the last clear image of her taken in public. Her phone activity painted a chilling picture. Messages were sent and received during the trip, then suddenly stopped. The final signal placed her near an abandoned shopping area on the outskirts of town, a place long forgotten and rarely visited. After that, her phone went silent. No calls, no messages, no movement. That same evening, the online profile of the 41-year-old man disappeared. His account was deleted, along with every photo and post. It was as if he had never existed. At the time, no one connected the two events. Her absence was noticed only hours later, when night fell and she did not return home. What began as a normal afternoon ended in unanswered questions. Somewhere between the bus stop and that empty stretch of land, her life shifted completely. The quiet online connection had moved into the real world, and once it did, there was no record left behind to explain what truly happened. When night passed without any sign of her, fear replaced confusion. Her parents contacted the police early the next morning, hoping there was a simple explanation. Officers began by retracing her last known movements, speaking to neighbors, shop owners, and bus drivers. No one remembered anything unusual. The lack of immediate answers made the situation feel heavier with each passing hour. Her photo was quickly shared across local news channels and social media. Volunteers gathered to search parks, empty streets, and nearby fields. Posters appeared on walls and bus stops. The community moved with urgency, driven by the hope that she would be found safe. Every reported sighting led to another dead end. Time continued to slip away. Investigators turned their focus to her phone and online activity. Her digital history revealed hours spent messaging a single account in the days before she vanished. The man she had been communicating with became the center of the investigation. When police attempted to access his profile, they discovered it no longer existed. The sudden disappearance of the account raised immediate concern. Cyber specialists worked to recover what they could. They found that the photos used on the account had been taken from unrelated websites years earlier. The name, location, and personal details were all false. The account had been created only months before and showed signs of careful planning. It was not random. As this information surfaced, the case took a darker turn. What had first looked like a runaway situation now appeared calculated. The connection between her disappearance and the vanished online profile became impossible to ignore. The search expanded beyond the town, crossing digital borders as well as physical ones. Somewhere behind layers of false identities was a real person, and finding him became the only way to uncover the truth about what happened to her. Several days into the search, hope began to fade, but the investigation continued without pause. A volunteer search team working near the edge of town made the first major discovery. Hidden among tall grass near a narrow riverbank was a familiar backpack. It belonged to her. The fabric was clean, but the straps were tangled, as if it had been dropped in a hurry. News of the find spread quickly, drawing police and investigators to the area. Inside the backpack were ordinary items that suddenly felt deeply unsettling. Her phone charger, a half-empty water bottle, and a small notebook were carefully examined. Nothing appeared damaged, and there were no signs of a struggle nearby. The calmness of the scene made it even more disturbing. It suggested planning rather than chaos. The notebook became a key piece of evidence. Its pages were filled with sketches and notes she had never shared with anyone. Some drawings showed empty buildings, parking lots, and unfamiliar roads. Investigators compared the images with locations around town. One sketch matched the abandoned shopping area where her phone signal was last recorded. This connection raised serious concerns about how she knew the place. Nearby, police discovered faint tire marks leading from a gravel path toward a dirt road. The tracks suggested a vehicle had stopped briefly before speeding away. There are no clear footprints, no witnesses, and no cameras in the area. Whoever had been there knew the location was isolated. The discovery changed the direction of the case. It confirmed that she had been taken away from that area and had not left on her own. The riverbank, once just another search location, became a silent witness to something far more serious. Each piece of evidence pointed toward careful planning, and a sense grew that someone had guided her there intentionally, knowing exactly where to go and when no one would be watching. As physical leads slowed, investigators shifted their focus back to the digital trail she had left behind. Cybercrime specialists worked carefully to rebuild the deleted online profile, recovering fragments from servers and cache data. What emerged was deeply troubling. The man she believed she knew had never used a real name, address, or photograph. Every detail had been manufactured, layered to appear believable while hiding his true identity. Further analysis revealed that the account was not his first. Similar profiles, using different names and images, appeared across multiple platforms over several years. Each followed the same pattern of activity. They interacted almost exclusively with young girls, often those who posted about feeling lonely or misunderstood. Some of the accounts vanished after short periods, while others stayed active just long enough to build trust before disappearing completely. Investigators compared timelines and noticed something alarming. Several girls connected to these accounts had suddenly stopped posting online in the past. While most were eventually found unharmed, a few cases remained unresolved, dismissed years earlier as runaways. The similarities were too strong to ignore. This was not a single mistake, but a repeated method. A breakthrough came when financial records linked to one of the fake profiles were uncovered. A small subscription payment led authorities to a rural property far outside the city. The land was registered to a man with a history of fraud and identity-related crimes. He lived alone, kept to himself, and rarely interacted with neighbors. His behavior had never raised alarms, but his past suggested skill in deception. Surveillance began immediately. Investigators watched the property, noting unusual activity and irregular travel patterns. Everything pointed toward a man who knew how to stay invisible. The online predator was no longer just a digital shadow. He had a physical location, a history. With enough evidence gathered, authorities moved quickly to search the rural property. The land appeared quiet at first, surrounded by trees and hidden from the road. Behind an old shed, investigators noticed freshly disturbed soil. Digging began immediately. Buried beneath the surface were personal belongings wrapped in plastic, placed there deliberately. Among them was a bracelet the girl never removed, instantly recognized by her family. The discovery confirmed that the investigation had reached its darkest point. As the search continued, more evidence surfaced across the property. Traces found in the surrounding woods pointed to repeated activity over time, not a single event. The area had been chosen carefully for its isolation. It was clear the location was familiar to the man and had been used to avoid attention. Every detail suggested planning, patience, and experience. While the search was underway, authorities learned that the suspect had already begun preparing to leave the country. His bank activity showed sudden withdrawals, and a one-way ticket had been purchased under another false name. He was arrested before he could escape, taken into custody without resistance. Inside his vehicle, investigators found items linking him directly to the online profiles used to contact the girl. During questioning, the full picture began to emerge. The online relationship had been carefully designed to feel safe and supportive. The meeting was not spontaneous. It had been planned long before she ever stepped outside that day. Her trust had been used as a tool, slowly built and then exploited. The case shifted from a search to a recovery and accountability effort. What began as a missing person investigation now stood as proof of how carefully hidden online dangers can move into the real world. The truth once buried, had finally come to light, leaving behind evidence that could not be ignored or erased. The case officially closed months later, but the weight of it never truly faded. The town that once felt quiet and safe carried a new sense of awareness. Streets looked the same, schools reopened, and daily life continued, yet something invisible had changed. Her disappearance became a shared memory, a reminder of how quickly trust could be misplaced and how easily danger could hide in plain sight. Her story spread far beyond the town through news reports and online discussions. Parents began paying closer attention to their children's digital lives, not out of fear alone, but understanding. Schools introduced programs focused on online safety, teaching students that the internet, while useful, was not harmless. What happened to her was no longer seen as an isolated tragedy, but as part of a larger problem affecting many families. The investigation also forced authorities to reconsider older cases. Patterns uncovered during the search led to reopened files and renewed efforts to identify similar predators. The digital trail left behind, once thought impossible to trace, became a valuable tool in preventing future crimes. Her case helped expose how manipulation could unfold slowly, without violence or obvious warning signs. Though justice was served, it did not bring comfort to those who loved her. What remained was her memory and the impact of her story. She was remembered not only as a victim, but as a reason for change. Her life, cut short by deception, became a warning shared again and again. The documentary ends with a quiet message. Behind every screen is a real person with unknown intentions. Awareness, communication, and caution are the strongest defenses. Her story stands as proof that staying silent can be dangerous, and that recognizing early signs may be the difference between safety and loss.